And Leon Panetta served as chief of staff and budget director to President Clinton. He also led the CIA and the Pentagon during the Obama administration and joins me now from California. Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. Let's try to start with what is happening at the border and whether you think it's appropriate for the president to declare a national emergency and use Pentagon funds and the military to build a wall without getting congressional approval, which is one of the things he has now suggested.
No, it does not make any sense for the president to do that. Look, there simply is no excuse, whether there's a crisis or a war, there is no excuse for shutting down the federal government. And that's the issue. Right now, a number of innocent people are really hurting because they're not getting paychecks. It's hurting our economy. And frankly, the president bears responsibility for that. He said he was proud to shut the government down. There is nothing he can do at this stage that will change the responsibility that he has for shutting the government down. He can call it a crisis. He can say there are terrible things happening at the border. But that raises the issue then, if there's a crisis, why in God's name shut the government down? You're shutting down Homeland Security, which is one of those agencies responsible for the border. It just defies logic, and it isn't going to change any minds, whatever he says tonight.
And there are 6 appropriation bills. Most of the government could be reopened. It would just be Homeland, which would still be in contention on a continuing resolution to decide on the wall. So why not do what Democrats and Republicans had agreed to before the Christmas break, before the president pulled the rug out from under his own party, and let those government agencies resume business?
Andrea, there's only one way this president and the country is going to get out of this mess. And it is to go ahead and pass a short-term extension to reopen the government and allow people to get back to work, allow our government to get back into the business of helping our citizens. And then at the same time, sit down with the Democrats and the Republicans to negotiate a comprehensive approach to border security. Basing everything on building this wall has been nonsensical from the beginning. If there is a need, and I think there is a need for strong border security, then it has to be comprehensive. It has to involve a number of elements. Technology, it has to involve personnel, it has to involve support for those, humanitarian support for those that are there. And yes, as the Congress has approved in the past, the use of physical barriers where necessary. All of that is what should constitute comprehensive border security that I think both Democrats and Republicans and the president can agree on.
Do you think it's legal for him, if he were to declare an emergency, to use Pentagon money that has not been appropriated specifically for that purpose by Congress?
No, I mean, what he's doing is he's piling chaos on top of chaos. If he takes this unusual step of declaring a national security, when I think all of the American people know there is no national security issue there. Yes, there's a crisis. But it's been a situation that we've been dealing with for a number of years. To then declare it a national security issue is simply going to put him and his administration into a federal court. And it's going to be challenged, which only adds more chaos to the situation in this country. Right now, this country, more than at any time in my life, needs some degree of stability. This president has to recognize that he's not going to get anywhere this year unless he establishes some kind of stability for this country.
Now, let me talk about national security in the context of foreign policy, because today Turkey's president has snubbed National Security Advisor John Bolton, publicly condemning Bolton before the Turkish parliament, not seeing him. This is a total disaster for what was to be a damage control effort to try to fix the president's precipitous announcement that he was withdrawing U.S. troops immediately from Syria. Does this further weaken the U.S. with allies and with adversaries alike?
Well, again, this is another example of government by chaos. Foreign policy by tweeting doesn't work. This president decided to wake up one morning after having a talk with Erdogan and decided he was going to pull all U.S. forces out of Syria. There was no process. There was no discussion of the consequences. There was no sitting down with his key advisors to understand what the implications were. He just decided to tweet something that was stupid. Now they're trying to reverse that policy. John Bolton is doing the right thing in reversing that policy, but clearly it then sends a signal to both our allies and our enemies that the United States cannot be relied on in terms of its foreign policy. That's the message, and it's a message of weakness, and it's hurting our country.
What are you hearing from the Pentagon, which you used to lead, now that Jim Mattis has resigned in protest? Joe Dunford, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, has been lame ducked by the president by announcing his replacement 10 months too early, arguably. And so he's now in Turkey trying to fix this mess. What are you hearing from the Pentagon about and the chief of staff has quit or been forced out after Mattis left? So what is going to happen with our military? I know that they salute and answer the commander-in-chief, but what about morale?
Well, I've always had tremendous confidence in our men and women in uniform and their dedication to trying to do everything necessary to protect this country. As secretary, I saw these young men and women put their lives on the line for this country. It doesn't help, obviously, to have this instability at the Pentagon. It doesn't help to lose a Secretary of Defense who, frankly, was not only experienced and competent, but was truly dedicated to the best interests of our country. To have that happen obviously creates some disruption. But I also believe that these men and women in uniform are dedicated. They will do what is necessary to protect our country, and they will do it in the brave and courageous way that they have done it in the past.
Secretary Panetta, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Good to be with you.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.